What's up, Earthlings? Dogg himself here to remind everyone watching of the rules of war. There are but two. Kill the men, take the women. Kill the men, take the women. This means that if you go into a village and kill all the men, you will be left with a village full of defenseless women and children. If you go into a village and kill all the women, you will be left with a bunch of angry men with nothing to lose. Now, some viewers may protest that this account objectifies women, reducing them to the status of resources or commodities. This is true, but it also reduces men to the level of corpses. Am I suggesting that a woman does not have the ability or right to be a combatant? Far from it. In the modern era, the battlefield has changed. We no longer find ourselves fighting over parcels of land, but over bits of information. On the modern battlefield, courage is much more necessary than upper body strength. Now, we can see this concept played out again and again throughout history, but I'd like to focus on a less obvious example, the welfare state. How does kill the men, take the women apply to the welfare state? First, we must assume that the welfare state is a historical precursor to Aldous Huxley's Brave New World scenario. In that book, Huxley states that, quote, "A really efficient totalitarian state would be one in which the all-powerful executive of political bosses and their army of managers control a population of slaves who do not have to be coerced because they love their servitude. The goal, then, is to get people to choose to have their freedoms taken away, rather than taking them away by force." Numerous studies have demonstrated that women are far more likely to receive welfare payments, while men pay disproportionately higher taxes. For many women, the welfare state means food stamps, child support, alimony, free birth control, and other perks. Many men, however, find themselves jobless, homeless, in prison, or suicidal. My aim here is not to draw attention to the unequal outcomes of modern society, but reveal it as military strategy. In the state, as in the village, women must love their servitude, but the men, they are expendable. In fact, there is plenty of evidence to suggest that the totalitarian state seeks to take the place of men, and indeed, the last several decades have shown that throughout the Western world, men and boys are simply choosing not to participate in relationships with women, family life, or society at large. One example of this, first seen after the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, is that the United Nations has changed its policy so that food relief in a disaster is now to be given exclusively to women and not men. They even have studies to suggest that this ensures contributes to the economic development of the community. So all this raises the question, why kill women at all? Well, the mass killing of women is a relatively recent phenomenon deriving from advances in hygiene which have drastically reduced infant and maternal mortality with a concurrent devaluing of the uterus. It was not that long ago that a conquering tribe would need all the women it could find to replenish its numbers. In fact, women were so valuable at times that many men would gladly risk death for the chance to acquire access to them. Killing women thus serves two purposes: terrorism and genocide. The goal of genocide is explicit, and with it we see either the women killed after all the men have died defending them, or we see everyone rounded up and killed at the same time. The goal of terrorism is to demoralize the enemy combatants to the extent that they are unable to fight. It requires both the act of killing and the enemy's awareness of that killing. As an example of terrorism, consider the media coverage of the religious extremists in Africa known as Boko Haram. Most Westerners first heard of them when they began abducting women and girls, but they had in fact been murdering men and boys by the hundreds for several years. It appears that when men are murdered, the response is to say, "There's a war going on in that part of the world, better stay away." But when women are murdered, the response is to say, "Women are being murdered. That means no one is safe." To reiterate, the purpose of war is to acquire resources. The obstacles to that acquisition are the enemy combatants. Do not be fooled by those who excite loftier goals, for that is mere rhetoric. It really is terrifyingly simple. Kill the men, take the women. This has been Evan Benton of Dogg for Mayor.